I'd like to call this meeting to order and welcome those watching at home on G10 to our meeting. First order of business is approval of the agenda. Amanda got these out to us earlier in the month. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda?
Yes.
You have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the next order is the minutes, which were also passed out at the same time from our last meeting on the 23rd of September. Do we have a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, if not, do we have a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, director's reports.
I believe I'm going to go ahead and get started on director's reports. Good afternoon, good evening, I should say. I don't have a whole lot, but you have one of the items right in front of you. It should be a very colorful flyer. Everybody should be familiar with Winterfest at this point. So for the public that is not aware of this large event, we provide a fabulous weekend for everybody to come enjoy December 6th through the 8th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We do have two components to the festival. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Commons is what we call our artisan market. It's a fabulous co-sponsored event with the Crafters Guild, and it's just a really nice way to promote and support your local artisans. Everything in there, all of the booths are all handmade, and there really are some fabulous artists in there. So I would encourage everybody to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Commons. And then the other large component to the weekend is Saturday downtown Riverwalk Crossing Park is the big component, the big festivities of the entire weekend with the snow, the sledding, the hay rides, the pony rides, rock climbing wall, food vendors, you name it. We have lots and lots of stuff going on. We'll finish out the night with a wonderful tree lighting ceremony with a fabulous new tree. And the mayor will kick us off on that with the tree lighting ceremony, and then we hand it off to the Rotary Club that provides the flotilla. So it is a all-encompassing, don't leave town, stay in town, visit all of your local artisans, visit our fun stuff we have downtown, and we would love to see all of you there as well. So that's our biggest thing coming up. It's again that weekend. So we do have a website. If anybody's watching, go to winterfest.com and then you can check out more information. So after that lovely spiel, the other stuff going on, I'm very happy to let you know that Jack Amiette has had some progress. We've made you aware that we were working on the front half of the building. We did finish that work. Our folks really internally made that happen with facilities maintenance budget. They came in under budget, or really right at budget. And we're really pleased to at least be in the front half of that building. That's it. We're only in the front half of the building. They built a wall in between that and the gym. So the gym has still got obviously some major issues. So you will see me going before council in the next, in the near future. We are not done with this discussion on Jack Amiette, but we are at least utilizing the front half, and then we will gives us some time to better make decisions based on the future of the entire facility. So pleased to be in there and pleased to have some presence back in the neighborhood, and looking forward to the future on that. We've done some minor renovations at Kerr Street Recreation Center. So we have done new floors, new paint, new doors. It just needed it. So we're real pleased that we've been able to do some stuff also at Kerr Street Recreation Center. Program-wise, basketball is underway. Basketball is everywhere, and everywhere we can be, we are. So we're thrilled to be back into some of the schools that we were not into last year because of the storm. We are able to get our little guys back in. It's not as large of a league, but I think last year I told you that we didn't have any 5- and 6-year-olds at all. This year we do have some 5- and 6-year-olds. It's just limited. We just can't accommodate the folks that would like to be participating. Again, it's due to the lack of facilities. There's still some schools out there that are challenged, and us as well without Jack Amiette. But we're making it work, and we're going to have a great season. So we'll plug along. And other than that, we're just busy with our normal summer, our winter festivities and programs and special events. Any questions for me before I turn it over to Michael?
One quick one.
Sure.
The YMCA that was advertised, I think they've opened in some capacity. Does Rec and Parks with the city have any kind of relationship with them other than just realizing that they're there?
Yeah, I think everybody's busy, so I haven't really had a conversation with them. I think they're doing their thing and we're doing ours, and everybody's staying busy serving the public.
Okay, over to me. So, real quickly, I don't have a lot tonight, but one thing I do want to talk about, if you haven't heard, is December 7th. December 7th, Winterfest.
Yay,
Riverwalk
Michael!
Park. Don't forget, we have hay rides, we have Santa, we have decorations, we have snow, we have a lot of snow, and then we have some more snow. So don't forget December 7th. If you have the opportunity to come out, it's a great event for all members of Jacksonville, Onslow County. It is a very friendly event, and hopefully we'll see some of you guys out there and the ladies, and look forward to seeing you then. So parks, from our side of the house, we obviously, as of today, we finished up with our ball seasons, our baseball and our softball. So we're not having to work on fields so much anymore, which is a good thing, because most of our time for the last month, hopefully you've noticed, has been putting decorations up around the city. I'm happy to tell you that as of Friday, 95% of the decorations around the city for the holiday season is up, and we're real pleased with that. Hopefully you are too. And that's really been our focus. We are doing some landscaping, nothing major, just more upkeep, some flower change outs we've had in the last month and a half. But Christmas is really our theme right now. And before I move to the next topic, one last thing. December 7th, Winterfest, don't forget about that.
I love it. Oh, look at
Oh,
your
look.
minds.
And so through the magic of technology, you can see some of what we've done down at the park. You can see our decorations.
It's gonna look beautiful.
This is dusk, obviously, and
It's gonna be beautiful.
we do have a couple of new additions to the park, and I'm not sure if we have pictures of that, but that's fine. You'll get to see them Saturday, December 7th, when you come down to the park.
Well, you just did my park report, so we're good.
I feel like I'm like on a radio station.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
So, any questions before I move on to my next topic, or our next topic? No, wonderful. So,
Alright.
we sent you some information about master plans.
Well,
And,
before you go there,
I'm sorry.
may I?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Michael's left out a couple of things because he's a very humble person about the work of his people. But if you don't have anything else to do, December 2nd.
I love our cheerleaders
Well,
over
now
here.
the
Thank
6th
you.
through the 8th, don't forget.
She's in charge of artists at market,
Come see
absolutely.
me.
Thank you.
You may have noticed over near Michael's shop, across from the tennis courts and generally next to the Station 4 Fire Department, there is an exercise facility going in there. A young Eagle Scout, many of you actually know Dr. Lasan, who's on the Planning Advisory Board. His son Jackson has raised about $18,000 and has bought professional grade exercise equipment. It is specifically designed to be an addition to our challenge course, which runs in various woods throughout the Commons area. Michael's folks over the last 2 weeks have worked, I would guess, probably 40 man hours for 6 people, so that's like 240 hours. And they have been installing all of that equipment. On December the 6th,
Friday.
Friday, thank you, I had to look to see. On Friday, December the 6th at 3 o'clock, we're going to have a ribbon cutting ceremony. We're going to be recognizing the young scout who has raised the money. You're invited. We would love to have you come by. And then we'll also be recognizing Michael's personnel who really installed it. And they are professional grade, quality, everything was, all of the vertical posts were dug anywhere from 24 to 36 inches into the ground, concreted in. This is really a real exercise course. So when you go out there, you can do sit-ups, push-ups, you can do curls, hand walks, knee jumps, just a whole series of things. They've also built 2 bridges that will connect the double walking trail on what I'll call the tennis court side of the loop, and then the walking trail itself. So we hope the public will really get a lot of use out of that. Second thing I'd like to update you on is at a recent meeting of the County Commission and the City Council, they agreed that each body would appoint 2 people to serve on a task force to study the issue of a sports complex. City Council appointed Mayor Pro Tem Lazara and Councilmember Warden. The County Commission appointed Paul Buchanan and Commissioner Foster. They will be having an organizational meeting next week, and we expect them to begin a series of meetings that will answer several questions. First question is, what is it that the community actually needs? Number 2, where should it be built? Number 3, can it be built in phases? Number 4, how much is it going to cost? Number 5, how will the community pay for it? Number 6, who's going to operate it? Number 7, 8, 9, 10 through 4,000 still to be answered. But I do believe this is a major Parks and Recreation opportunity. I believe that the mayor and the council and Chairman Bright and the commission are serious about the study. The outcome of the study, of course, will determine the future of that topic. One last thing I'd like to mention is that through the Community Development Block Grant funds, we are building a new bathroom facility at Georgetown. As you know, over the last 10 years, the mayor and council have focused on rebuilding all of our parks. We have built what we call a prototype bathroom. You can see it. The first one we put in was at Wooten. Then we put a similar one at the Jacksonville Landing. Then we have placed one at the Jack Amyette facility, and now we're putting one in at Georgetown.
And Northeast Creek.
And Northeast Creek, absolutely. So those are additional comments about your recreation. Any questions on those before I turn it back over to Michael for your master planning? Any of you have had the opportunity to use the new restrooms? Okay, Michael?
Okay, thank you so much. So, the park master plans. So we talked to you about this a little bit, and we sent some information for you to look at and hopefully to be thinking about. You know, over the last 10 years, much of what I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of some of the things Dr. Woodruff has said. You know, a decade ago, Jack Amyette, look at that facility. Rebuilt basically, ball field, splash pad, playgrounds, Wooten Park, the landing, things that are happening downtown, things that are happening at Northeast Creek Park. We've had some really good things done over the last 10 years. We want to make sure that we capture what does the next 5 years look like? What do the next 10 years look like? So that is basically what we're here tonight to start the process of, our master plan. Where are we going to be, not just today, not just tomorrow, for our future? So in sending you the information that we sent you, we hope you've had the time to look at it. What we'd really like to start out tonight doing is getting a list from you, and we'll compile the list and package it up and bring it back to you no later than the next meeting. Hopefully, we'll send out an email somewhere in between that time for you to review. But we want to start the process, and we felt like the best way to do that was for us to talk to our members tonight and create a list of amenities or things that you think are needed in the parks that maybe aren't there, or replacements that you think need to be done, anything like that. I don't think there's any bad things that can be said tonight. So we would hope that you're ready to do some of that tonight, and we'll take our first step into what is our future tonight. Any questions before we move forward? I will turn it over now to our chairman, who is going to start a list for us.
Okay, we talked about this a little bit before the meeting, and recommended approach is, and I guess I was nominated to go first by Michael, is to go through the parks. And the way I did this, I put down things I thought were left out of the description, and then things I think should be added. And of course, I've got comments. Kind of a general question and comment for all parks is I think where practical, we need water fountains out there. Some places it's probably not practical because of the plumbing going to the park.
Right.
But that's kind of an overall comment. So I'm gonna go down in order, and what I'm gonna do is as briefly as I can, do my things that were left out, things I think should be added. If you wanna take notes, you might cut down, because I'm sure I'm gonna repeat the things that you've already thought of. So when we go around the table, hopefully after I get through, it'll be a little bit quicker for the rest of us. Okay, first one, Branchwood. I've recommended this before. The only parking is at the end of the street. And my recommendation is to do some type of a gravel parking lot inside of there with some type of split rail fence, very cheap to do. I'll do it myself on the weekend if I can get some help, for 4 or 5 cars. Just to get the people that use that aren't walking from the neighborhood down there, that could go and drive and just park off the street instead of blocking that end of the street. My other comment with Branchwood is the description on the internet says there's a nature trail there. I've found all kinds of things that could be construed as a nature trail, but if there is a nature trail, I recommend we put a sign there to say it's nature trail. This is the nature trail and not some phony nature trail that people are gonna get lost on. Brook Valley, I think we need a sign there. We mentioned trailheads in other places, but that's actually the trailhead for what we commonly refer to as the power line trail. So just, there's an adopt a trail sign there, maybe right next to that. This is the trailhead for and it terminates down at Mill Creek Green. There's a water fountain there that should be included. I don't think it was. And a question, there's a huge grassy area there that at one time were tennis courts. That's a wasted space. I know last year there was a rogue football team practicing in there, which I probably should have kept my mouth shut. I reported it and they got ran off, but it was a great place to practice. But if we could, some formal use for that big grass area there. It's about the size of a football field, maybe a little bit smaller. But that's my recommendation. There's really some wasted space in there. Georgetown. We need to list the fact that there's a parking lot there, or there's parking spots. We list parking in a lot of the others, and there's parking there at Georgetown, obviously. Is there a water fountain there? I don't know. Jack Amyette talked about consolidating our ball fields around town. The effort we put into the ball field that's at Jack Amyette, I think we ought to keep that, because if we have tournaments our ball fields might be filled and we can send a couple of teams over there to play. So I think we need to keep the ball field. There's obviously parking at Jack Amyette. I'm sure there's a water fountain over there.
Yes.
Jacksonville Commons, really no comment there. That's pretty all-inclusive. Jacksonville Landing. I think we need to upgrade what's referred to as the kayak canoe launching spot. At one time, we thought there was going to be a pad going there like they have down in Sturgeon City and other places. What it is you approach the boat ramps off to the right. There's stairs going down. There's a grass area that's very overgrown. If that is going to be our canoe and kayak launching plate, we probably ought to put a sign there. Tell people if you have a canoe and kayak and don't want to tie up one of the boat ramps, fight your way down through the brush, and here it is. We're putting a kiosk in there. That should be added. The kiosk in the old Exxon building at the end. And something probably more important at Jacksonville Landing and at the new landing that we're putting in over across what used to be the Kerr Street Marina, some type of spigot that people can get water, rinse off their boats. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. And some type of water source, either near the boat ramps or somewhere off where they can have access to water.
And that's gonna be at Jacksonville Landing.
Jacksonville Landing and Kerr Street Landing when we get to that.
Jacksonville, yeah,
The marina.
Riverwalk Marina.
Riverwalk, that's the right
Yeah.
term. Okay.
So when you say a spigot and water source, you're not necessarily referring to like a fish cleaning station, correct? Just,
Could be, but I was thinking more where they have access to water, just to quickly rinse the boat off. Of course, a lot of people just take river water and do that.
That's what I was saying. Is you talking about like fresh water or just some type of pump system from the river itself what are you gonna,
That could, the answer to that question, that can be explored later, but something like.
Water.
Yeah, water. William Park, again, a lot of people crab and fish right there. They probably need some type of spigot water source there to clean their crabs or whatever they catch. Northeast Creek, the boardwalk, badly in need of repair. Steve, I'm sure you can agree with that.
That's an understatement.
Understatement, okay. Do we need a canoe kayak launch pad there? Most people that use that just use the boat ramps. So I'm not sure it's worth the expense to put a launching pad out there. The ball
was in the
field.
original plan, though.
It was the original plan. I'm not sure if it's necessary. If we want to save money somewhere, people seem, I don't have no trouble using the boat ramps. It's not that busy that I don't get run over. So I'm not sure if we need a separate platform out there that costs several $1,000s.
Well, one side comment, keeping it in the master plan doesn't necessarily set a schedule for when you're gonna build it. But if it's in the master plan, it gives you the opportunity a year or 10 years from now to possibly get a grant. So, when you think of things going into these parks, don't think of them in the term of 2019, 2020. This is supposed to be a master plan for each of the parks.
The ball fields, I think we already have a plan in place that where the lagoon used to be. One time we talked about putting ball fields there to add to the existing ball fields that are already there. I think that's a good idea. Northwoods Rec Center. There's a restroom there that wasn't included. There's parking there. Do we need a water fountain outside? There's a drinking fountain inside the rec center itself. And we kind of divided that up between the outside, which I'm assuming is a park, and
Right.
the building is the rec center. So
Absolutely.
it's hard to separate those two in my mind.
Well, and the biggest reason is there's not access to the restrooms if the building's not open.
Right.
Or if the children are, it's a different situation if the children are in there.
Yeah,
and they
But
have-
to your point, there are restrooms in the building.
Phillips Park, again, water fountain. And we've talked before about a kayak canoe launching place there. My observation is that part of Cheney Creek is so shallow, low tide. Again, I'm not sure if a canoe, again, we can put it in the master plan and just keep it unfunded forever. If I read your intent.
Actually, you read my intent on Northeast Creek. I agree with you because it's so shallow at Phillips. I don't know that, if you put two people in a kayak, they're gonna sit there for quite some time.
Wooten Park, again, water fountain. We've got a very nice restroom there, which, yes, has been utilized. Richard Ray, we have a parking lot there that wasn't included. And I don't know if there's a water fountain out there in Richard Ray. I'm sure there is somewhere, but if it is, that needs to be included as one of the amenities. If not, Richard Ray probably, of the other parks, that's probably something in need of a water fountain. Sherwood Forest, I don't know if there's a water fountain there or not. That's a consideration. Sturgeon City, I think we listed all the stuff there. The multi-purpose building, we need to list that as an amenity. I know we have to reserve it through Sturgeon City, but it's there. It's something that's part of the space. Wilson Bay. I don't think a restroom was mentioned there, but yeah, it's one of the nicer restrooms.
Yes, yes.
Water fountain.
Yes.
I know there's water inside, but I don't know if there's one outside.
There is.
Very nice.
Woodlands. Is there a water fountain there? I don't know. And then the others, those were the parks, but then I think we get into the rec centers, which kind of overlap with the amenities because they're adjacent to the actual park. JM yet, kind of depends on what the decision is made, what to do with the buildings. So I didn't touch that. I think we all were given an opportunity to make our recommendations on what of the 6 or 7 plans we recommended. And, so I didn't list anything there other than the recommendation we all gave earlier. In Jacksonville.
And for the public who is listening or who is watching tonight, would you, if you remember, would you refresh their memory as to what your recommendation was?
It wasn't one of the more expensive ones. again, you know, Mike and I were talking about this before, and I guess as a recreation parks guy, I want the gold Cadillac thing. But I'm also a citizen and taxpayer in Jacksonville, and I don't think the $6 or $7 million version is worth, you know, worth the squeeze of the juice we get out of it. I was recommending one of the first two options we had there.
Which was more of a community center, but not a sports center.
But there were still places inside that they weren't full gyms, but there were places, I think there were a couple of them that you could still activities. Yeah. The adult center over at the Commons, a couple of things were left out. There's a restroom inside, and there's also a computer station there in the hallway, which we need to include. Those aren't additions, they're there that just need to be included as amenities. The Commons Rec Center, there's a parking lot there which wasn't included. The Jacksonville Youth Center, which is right across the street here, there's parking. It's not a parking lot, but there's street parking there. The same way with the Northwoods Rec Center. There's parking there. It's adjacent to Northwoods Elementary. We share the same parking lot, but there's parking available. The amphitheater. Again, I don't know the plans, but if we start doing things in the spring through the fall, there probably need water fountain and resting facilities closer than several hundred yards away. And then there were three things left at the end. One was a conservation area, several hundred acres there at the end of Henderson Extension behind Longhorn and the motel that's there. With respect to developing that, and I read it's a conservation area, so I'm assuming we can't put multi-buildings in there and basketball courts and things. So that probably lends itself to more like nature trails and things like that if we want to keep it conserved in its natural state. Williamsburg Plantation and Carolina Forest. I'm not sure if this is possible, but if we're looking at another regional park, that might be a place to put it because it separates itself from the Commons Northeast Creek by going out Gum Branch Road somewhat, which is kind of the growth pattern here in Jacksonville, going towards Richlands. I don't think we need another regional park on the west side of town. I think going north or east would be a good idea. Of course, Michael and I were talking about beforehand, the location of those acreages leads some problems on what you can put in there. And just the construction, I think there's a ditch through the middle of one of them that kind of divides the acreage in half, so you really couldn't put ball fields in there very, very well. So I think that's everything.
Good job.
Thank
Wow.
Again, I know,
Yeah, I was gonna say you covered everybody. We're good.
so, sir, you want to go next?
Thank you. I think I did see. I didn't see anything on for the trails. The part of it, of course. I think the only thing we have to have is probably some type of consolidation. Whatever we're going to do with the tunnel order, somebody needs to stand up and say, okay, we got it or we got it, either the military side or the city side.
So the good news is the tunnel is actually being worked on.
I know I seen somebody, but I know. I seen for a minute, then I seen it stop. I seen it for a minute again, so I didn't know if it was.
The base is actually in the process of
Consolidation.
fixing what problems have been over there, and I would hope that within the next 2 weeks that those problems would be over and that area would be open to the public again.
No, outstanding. And only thing else to consider, I think when you were talking about the Woodlands Park, they do have a fountain over there. I don't know how much it is used though, due to the fact that most everyone over there, because it's a big soccer area and family area, everybody bring their own chairs and water supplies and stuff like that. But I know there's one fountain over there next to the restroom area, which need to be looked at as well. And Wilson Bay is a very good park. The water source is working. I think something we could think about is there should be a barrier right there where the end of the concrete, where the gazebo is, and then where it splits out. Due to the fact these people that are playing, sometimes the balls roll down into the water, there's nothing there that's coming from the sidewalk to the water. I don't know if we put like a little wooden fence or graded, or just a regular little tin fence or whatever, something just to stop something from going over there, and like little kids get on as well. Those are the three areas that I have, and in addition that I have to what's needed to be explained.
Okay.
I have no less.
I agree with Jim, and but I think we should have bike racks at all the parks.
All right, we can talk about that.
Bike racks at all the parks.
Yeah, sure. That's probably an easy fix. I'd really like to see the boardwalks at Northeast Creek rebuilt and like, don't make them out of wood this time because we'll have the same problem in another 20 years. Drive some concrete piles in there and get them up a little higher so they're not down there in that, the mud there is really nasty smelling. So get it up so you can get a pretty good view. The one is in horrible shape. We should like get rid of that and yank it out because it looks terrible. So that, you're gonna have to tell me where the fishing pier is at Northeast Creek Park. I can't picture it in my mind which part of it's the fishing pier.
Well,
It's
Go ahead.
in there. It's
People use it as a fishing
Right.
pier. I
Oh,
don't know
okay,
that
the
it was
sidewalk that
designed-
the
goes
sidewalk
out.
that kind of
Yeah.
curves
Yeah.
around.
Now I know what
Go
you're
out
talking
there and fish off of that.
And then I can't figure out how we get 5 parking lots. Is the one by the baseball fields, is that 2 parking lots?
I think so.
well, the playground side is one.
There's one.
The ball
Disc
field
golf.
is, the ball field where the concession stand is 2. The shelter area,
That's
you
what
got
it
it,
is.
3.
Yeah.
Disc golf 4 and boat ramp 5.
Yeah, all right, now I get it. The former lagoons there, we should develop it. I think it'd be an awesome soccer complex, like at Woodlands. Just my little thing there. Rework the nature trail, because you can't, most of the signs are unreadable now, and it gets really muddy in the wintertime down there, so throw some gravel down, it'd be good. I think we need several dog parks. I would like to see one at Northeast Creek for sure. Put one out at whatever we're gonna do with Williamsburg and Carolina Forest, so we can spread them around the city. I think we need a restroom down by the boat ramp. So restroom with a water fountain down there.
And that's back at Northeast Creek?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. As you come off the water and the closest restroom is a pretty good sprint up the road, so I think that would come in handy. At the amphitheater, I think that the stage needs like a clamshell cover or something like that. A couple times I've been there, the porta potty was sufficient. So it's not, there wasn't thousands of people there, so it seemed that was adequate. Riverwalk Marina. There are no restrooms there now, so we need to get some restrooms. My idea still is we should get shipping containers and stick them out there because they're cheap. They're practically indestructible. Put them up on pilings of some type, get them out of the flood zone. The vendor needs something to work out of if we still have a vendor there. So we need something for him too. The conservation area, put a trail in there somehow. If you go up 24 up towards Morehead City, there's some other big conservation area, and they got several trails that run through there. Lots of mosquitoes.
You're talking about
The
Croatan? Croatan?
Yeah,
Off to the left.
yeah. That one there. So something along that nature there. I haven't been out there to see how really squishy it is to walk around, but it would have minimal impact. Williamsburg Plantation, I think, would make an awesome baseball complex. I mean, because we could start from scratch, you know, and like, you know, put 4 fields all back to back with a center area there for the concession stand, and or how many we can stick in there. I don't know how much room baseball fields need, but you can probably put a lot in 15 acres. And do something with Carolina Forest.
Do something, something.
Just do something.
That's
I mean, you know,
descriptive, okay?
A nice playground would be good, you know, maybe another splash pad up at that end of the city. All right, I'm done.
All right, thank you. Mr. Spring.
Just a couple of things. Number one, I made a note that, at Sherwood, we do have water, a water fountain. And, you don't have to squeeze the thing a couple of times to get it to come out, you know, usually there's no trick to it. Branchwood does not, and I don't know that that's feasible, that it ever will. The parking situation with Branchwood, in principle, I agree, that's the only one of our parks that doesn't have any kind of parking. I will say that once you decide to put some kind of parking there, you run the risk, if it's not secured, that people will decide to park there. And that would make the residents in that area a little upset, because right now, they kind of like it because nobody uses it, but they do. I'm just throwing that out. Parking lots, to me, the parking lot only tells part of the story. I think one of the things we ought to put in our parking lot is what capacity we have. Because at first, it may look like, for example, down at Northeast Creek, that if you have 5 parking lots, that's a lot. But if you only have a total of 100 parking spaces, that's not, it's not as big as you think it was. So we may want to add the capacity of each of the parking lots. And on that same idea, I do see that that lagoon area is huge, and we may be able to put something there. I mean, if we're looking for a large area to donate or throw into the pot on the indoor complex or whatever complex, that's a huge area. It probably requires quite a bit of site work, but we don't have any place else that's that big. It may not be in the best location, but that's my 2 cents.
Bill?
Well, went and saw 13. And believe it or not, most of them, the only park that I saw that was in disarray, which was on purpose on account of planning, was Phillips. And there's a reason for that, but I would, that is centrally located, and I would seriously think about putting a dog park there, get your bathroom squared away. The front part of Phillips, of course, is the picnic area and everything. That looks great, but that needs some work. I'd concentrate on that. I know we tried to put the amphitheater there, of course, on account of environmental, we couldn't. But I think Phillips is very important. Brook Valley, you need signs desperately. I put a sign at Doris and Plaza, and also another sign at Estate Drive, so people can find it. I thought it was a nice park. Besides what everybody's mentioned, the New River, that is going to be a decision made by the city council, obviously, but that has been put together very nicely over the years, starting back in the 50s. But I think you've got to do something to do everything you can to keep that gym. You've got to make it smaller, unfortunately. But on the outside, the gym looks great. I looked out there and said, hey man, this fantastic. I'd never know it was closed. But at least you got the front part of it, and I think that's great. The rest of the parks, I think you all have mentioned the Williamsburg Plantation, Carolina Forest, whatever you think about, you can put in there. You could put in a miniature golf course. You could put in what's real popular at Northeast Creek.
Disc golf.
Or disc golf. The disc golf, you could put that in there. Or anything, I mean, whatever, ballparks or whatever you decide to do. Those would be the big projects. You've got some grills in some areas that are old. What is it, the park where the water people go sit downtown? That's really pissed.
Willingham?
Yeah.
Willingham, yeah, I've got all of that listed right here.
Yeah. But the other one on the,
LP Willingham
Yeah, LP Willingham.
on the water.
the other one.
Kerr Street? Kerr Street.
River
arena?
Rock.
Down.
Wilson.
Been there
Wilson Bay?
forever.
Wilson Bay.
Wilson Bay, yeah.
Okay.
I went down there, and
We're good there.
it's just really picturesque. People are sitting on the benches, everybody's just enjoying themselves. And just the way a park is supposed to be, what you think about when you think about a park. And, I mean, it was just really nice, very serene. And, you really don't need to do too much about it unless you look at the grills and maybe some swings or something like that. But, it was really interesting. I really enjoyed it. Had my wife with me to navigate. She helped me out, so it was good. Woodland Park, I thought maybe you might look at some more grills and some more swings. That's my opinion. I just happen to be by there. The other thing I think is really important, which is a little bit outside, has a lot to do with this, and y'all are going to do it. And I think it's something that really needs to be done, is when you bring people in that live in these areas and get their input. I think you've already got that plan. That's probably the most important thing you're going to do as a governmental unit. There's such a divide between managers, employees, and what you really end up with. It's like a guy working on an assembly line, and the guy from Harvard comes in with a PhD and says, okay, this is the way it ought to be. It doesn't really work that way. It doesn't make any sense. Sometimes that's what happens. And I think it's really important. I mean, we're all assigned parks, and we know our park fairly well. And I wouldn't want to go into another park and say, okay, you need this, you know. And the guy lives right down the road, uses the park every day, and said, no, I think we need this. I would certainly yield to the people in the neighborhood. Wooden Park is about a finished product. There's some land over there, but then where that land is right where the neighbors are. Well, you don't want to put anything right up, jammed up to somebody. But that's about all I have. But I think we should be real proud of what we have. I didn't see anything that was, except Phillips, which is, we know that, and we're working on that. But that didn't look fairly well, and it was well, and our people keep everything up very well. So I think we're in good shape. We've got a lot to do, obviously, but I think as far as appearance, restrooms, which we've completed or are working on, water fountains, and which we've identified, the basics, I think we're in pretty good shape.
If I could, Mr. Ross, thank you. I did want to mention that we do have a public meeting planned. We're just finalizing the date on that. So what we do plan is having a public meeting input so that we can get their same feedback, very similar to what we've done with you folks, not, and so that'll be planned probably at Jack Emiette at this point. So we'll invite the public to come out and give their feedback. And if it's overwhelming and we, need to have another, we'll do that as well. So we'll see how the feedback gets us, and we'll hopefully have that done and compiled along with your information prior to the next meeting. So
For all the parks, not just.
oh, for all the parks, yes.
And what we try to do to piggyback with Mr. Ross said, you try to talk to when you go out to visit the parks, try to talk to the ones that use the parks. Because usually users are the ones that are always using those parks, those certain parks. So every park has their own crowd. So try to go out there and speak to them. They tell you everything is going this and this and that. Sometimes I get my notes. So they let me know exactly what's going on and how they feel, because they go there all the time, either with their children or to use with their friend, like you said, with Wilson Bay Park. They have people out there all the time, eating lunch and conversing with the person all the time. So,
Ownership. They have some ownership in the park.
yes, exactly.
Mr. Speranza?
Okay, I know we're running a little short on time, so I'll be quick on this. Two of them are covered most of the time. We talked a little bit beforehand, the Riverwalk Crossing Park, the 421 Court Street building, finding out what we're actually going to do with it once we get back inside of it and get a little bit of the roof that's still there covered. The train depot, stage area, and gardens are all great. When you start walking up and down those parks, people are still utilizing them, walking their dogs back and forth, and we're always doing sod work up and down there, so it always looks great. Everybody's happy with it, and I know it's one of our main entertainment areas, including for the Winterfest that's coming up on the 7th, just so we know that set. So I want to throw that one more time. All right. The Kerr Street Recreation Center, again, I was talking with Susan prior to, and she even mentioned it already, that they did some refabrications on the floors, new paint, and a few things that were going on in there, which looked really great. again, you know, the more of the kids that we have in there, you know, the more amenities that we can put in there to help out the people that are working, the better. Because otherwise, it's just a cement building that they're doing the best they can with keeping the kids entertained. Anytime that I'm down there by the parks, as soon as I talk to somebody and I say, hey, what's the first thing that you guys, I don't have to get the sentence out, restrooms. Because the only restrooms that are down that area are actually attached to the rec center, and they have doors from the inside and the outside. However, whenever we have kids there, for their safety, the doors are locked from the outside, so people outside can't get in and deal with around the kids, which means there are absolutely no restrooms in that area. And that's their biggest complaint otherwise. And I know there's a lot of work going around now with the boat ramps and everything going in, and I'm sure there's a plan for it somewhere along the way.
If I could just
Sure.
clarify, you're absolutely right. We do lock the outside doors.
Mhm.
We just want them to come through the front of the building.
And
So
a lot of them-
restrooms are still available,
they-
they just have to come through the front.
And a lot of
So
people
for
are just a
security-
little,
Security
yeah.
of seeing the people come through because
Yeah.
we have kids, because there's an adjoining door and access.
there
so-
is. And-
Sorry, I just.
No, absolutely. And a lot of people just feel a little uncomfortable walking in, when you're a stranger walking in amongst a group of kids just to use the
But they're
bathroom
welcome
somewhere.
to, yeah.
But they are,
But on that point,
yes.
the master plan that you will see relative to the land side of Jacksonville, of Riverwalk.
Riverwalk Lane.
It does have a large pavilion and it will have restrooms.
Sweet.
So,
And the other suggestion that people were throwing in, if they wanted to try to combine a little bit with it, if they were having the ball games there, was to put up a snack shack like they have over at Woodlands, which of course has restrooms on the back half of it. And there is an area that would be between the tennis courts and the playground from behind and between the fields that has enough area to put one of those facilities in if need be. The other piece that they had over there, just something simple around the pier, just continually, because there's planks always being replaced on the pier. If there was a plan in the future for doing some more work, I know there's a lot that goes into that, especially going into the water and actually securing it. So something about building there and maybe putting we dropped a picnic table there recently, maybe putting a picnic area up that way, like they have from behind where the basketball courts is behind the Kerr Center, and actually have a picnic shelter there as well. So we've already dropped the table. Going down that field, one of the things they have there is the playground. Looking at the list over there, one of the problems with the playground is that that's an area that floods a lot. And one of the problems is the sand that's over that way. So it's not used as often on the playground section, just because walking on that sand is painful. And I'm not sure if any of those foam type ones that you can put down as flooring would fare any better during the flooding, or if it would damage it just as much. But if it doesn't, that might be a good replacement to do over that way and maybe get a little bit more use out of it.
surface.
Yeah, the rubberized type surfaces, not foam, excuse me. Yeah, foam would just soak it up, right? That wouldn't do any good for anybody. There are small little grills over there. They are starting to get a little rusted and old and overused. A couple of them have little pans that have sort of crumbled. If we can get new ones dropped there, they would appreciate that. And with the new area that's being put up, couple of people were suggesting in some of the parks, while they're sitting there in the evenings, they would need a place to plug in like their phones or devices that they have. And there's no external outlets for individuals to use. And I'm not sure with the new area that's being built over there, if we can incorporate some outlets that are facing outward, so that way people that are just enjoying the park can plug in stuff. But apparently that was, that and the water pumps coming by the launches for the boats was another one that people were looking at. And that looks like that was gonna be about it for today.
Okay, Michael, Susan, before we go on with the rest of the agenda, could either one of you kind of address what you see as going forward? This is kind of a broad brush for today, and I know we talked about maybe having a workshop besides our every other month meeting to get the details, but what do you see as a way ahead now?
Well, I mean, I think a little bit is, today was our starting point, getting your feedback. We'll have a public meeting feedback. We'll compile everything. We sent you a sample of what a Wooten Park master plan looks like. So ideally, that's what we'll have for each one of our parks, is basically, you'll see some description, you'll see a map per se, you'll see, a listing of what's there, and then looking at the future and what we want, and feel free to step in at any point. And then what we want for the future, and those are all eventually gonna go to council and get their feedback and get approved.
So just hopping on with what she said, and obviously Dr. Woodruff can step in at any point, but I think our goal is getting the information first, once we get the information and we're comfortable from the public and from ourselves, and we've sat down and we mapped these out somewhat similar to Wooten Park potentially. I don't think we go to council with all of this at one time. It may be done in phases where we may go to council in the spring as an example, and that's only an example, and we may take 4 or 5 parks there. We'd say, hey, you know, this is what we were thinking, this is what our feedback has led us to, and then maybe in a couple of more months, we hope to get their buy-in and they give us that buy-in, and then maybe a couple of months later, we come back with the next set of parks and we say, hey, again, we're back again, here's the next 5 parks for our something similar to that. So I don't know if that's the direction you were going with your question, but I think, you know, from today to tomorrow to long term, I think that's the program, unless I'm
Okay, how about council input other than what we did tonight? We were talking before, maybe a workshop,
Well, I
flush
think,
things out, or?
and I think council's input would be when we go to council
Okay.
with that information. We would generally do something like that at a workshop setting. And we would show them what we've done, and then much in the same way that we've done with Jack Amiette. We took it there, we got their feedback, we addressed some of the questions, and we bring it back. And I think that's how this will move forward.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the parks, the master plans will be very easy. For example, Wooten Park, as we've said, it is for all practical purposes rebuilt. But remember, in the draft that we provided to you, it's not only the description of the park and a graphic, it's also the identification of what are the capital improvement projects that are going to be needed for the next 10 years, and what are the maintenance issues that need to be put in the operating budget for the next 5 years. So using Wooten as an example, you may see that the master plan is exactly what's there. What you may see is that in capital improvements, that there's not any capital improvement per se. But what you may see in the 5-year maintenance is that the picnic shelter needs to be re-roofed, that something else needs to be fixed, that something else needs better lighting. I mean, so it's an operational plan as well as a vision plan. And as they've said, you know, we're going to do a series of areas where we invite the public in. If you don't use Wooten Park, you know, okay, if all you use is the commons, we want you to come to that one. I mean, we're gonna have a series of input sessions. You know, it's such a large effort that yes, you could have a traveling road show and have one at the commons and let people from that area speak to any park they wanted to. You could have one down over in the Northeast Creek area, but we're gonna put those type things together. But it definitely will have input. What we will eventually bring to you though, and eventually to the city council to adopt, will actually be a physical plan that says, here's what's gonna be there, capital projects, and the 5-year maintenance for each park.
Any other questions?
Okay, is that a wrap for the master plan for this evening, or move on?
I think so.
Okay, no council liaison report, plan advisory.
Just for your knowledge, Mr. Jackson is out of town. He attended the National League of Cities meeting, and he has not returned from that meeting yet.
Before I do the planning board liaison report, when you mentioned USB or some kind of power,
Electric outlets.
I'm thinking to myself, maybe there's some type of solar powered storage battery, you know, something that takes power in during the day, stores in the battery, and then it's there. That way you don't have to worry about running power lines out. I would hope somebody wouldn't steal it once we put it there, but again, it might be one of those things. It's easy to put when you're in a wide open area like you are down by the water, because you've got almost no trees to block it. And, you know, it may be good for a prototype. It may also be good for a scout project somewhere for someone to do.
I think the bridge over the river, the new one over here, named after, I forget the guy's name, but you know what I'm talking about.
Popkin?
Yeah, Popkin Bridge. No, the big one downstream.
Sewell Bridge.
The Sewer Bridge, the
Sewer
Sewer
Bridge,
Bridge.
I'm sorry.
They've got, well, I think what you're talking about up there to run the lights. The big- Yeah.
I'm
So-
sure someone commercially makes something like that.
Yeah, we researched some for a bicycling grant that we explored.
Okay, well, anyway, planning board, we didn't have a meeting in October, we didn't have a meeting in November. Hope we'll have one in December, but it depends on what happens. Dr. Woodruff, at my last report, I mentioned about rezoning at the area between Country Club and Western Boulevard and Bellport Road area. Do you know if that eventually came back to council again? I noticed
Yes,
they
it was-
postponed it
It was
once.
approved as presented to
Okay.
the city council, as presented to the PAB.
Okay, and I did bring the development review update, and it talked about a couple of building permits and site interest. Could I mention those? Or,
Certainly. They're
like,
public record.
okay, one was a Fit for Life Fitness Club at Michael's. Whether that's gonna happen or not, I don't know.
It's opening.
Okay,
Yep.
and then a name change for a restaurant, and a proposed 10,000 square foot restaurant and 1,000 square foot automobile service center at the corner of Carolina Forest Boulevard and Western Boulevard.
And you do know that the Mayflower Restaurant is going to be built across from Marine Chevrolet.
When they're tired.
We don't have restrooms.
Yes.
We don't need them in the theater.
I've seen that sign many times.
Oh, my goodness.
I think it fell over actually in the last storm.
Yes. That's it.
Okay, park reports. Bill?
Everything was fine. Went up there.
Then we discover everything in the
Went
parks.
out there, just finished talking about it, but everything, it's just a very good park. A lot of folks out there, and so bathrooms, water fountain, and so forth. Went out there after, soon as we got our request, and looked to see what we could add or whatever, and we're just about there, unless the public has some suggestions that, but it's really well done, well thought out. So it's a very different variety of everything for somebody. It can be used very efficiently. I can see why you use it as your example, because it is.
Okay, Lori's not here. Homer?
Branchwood Park okay, Sherwood Park okay. Phillips Park, I went by, I'll be honest with you, I went by tonight. I remembered seeing that Saturday and Sunday, there were quite a few people out there playing soccer, and just the things were being utilized all over the place. And I thought, well, I'll stop in and I'll see the bathrooms, and it'll look like they've been through a weekend of people. And doggone it, those things were about as clean as I had seen them in a while. Somebody did a lot of work on those bathrooms. They look better than the last time I saw them, and that was after nobody had used them. So you can tell somebody's put a little elbow grease in there. They're still old, but you know.
They're clean.
Yes, yeah, they were good. So whoever did that job, I was
Pass that along, thank you.
very pleased. And thanks to the bleachers.
Okay, Steve?
At Northeast Creek, there's been a bunch of digging underneath the power lines.
Yeah, there's been a water leak at the Holiday City. There was a water leak, and they could only get access through there.
Yeah, there's a pretty big hole they dug. So anyway, but it's all done. They've put some other kind of stuff in there. And I don't know if I didn't notice the big pile of dirt tonight.
No, I think they moved the dirt. They're supposed to, rather, if they haven't.
All right. Big pile of clay in the parking lot over by the baseball fields. So,
Going on the ball field.
okay, I kind of figured that was gonna happen. But it's been there a while. It's all wet now, so that'll probably be a mess. The disc golf guys are, they're amazing. They play all the time. So it was like 2 weekends ago when it was really cold and it was really wet and it was really windy.
It was a nor'easter.
Yeah, anyway, they had some sort of tournament out there, and there were
did.
tons of them out there.
They have an annual tournament each November, and it rotates with an international tournament that they bring here every 2 years or something too.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's international players. that
So
come.
they were, there were some pretty tough people out there playing disc golf, and I don't know how you can throw one of those things accurately with that much wind that was out there. So that was amusing to watch. The playground, every evening when I walk the dog, the place is packed.
It's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Since the leaves are turning, the park's very popular with photographers. So every evening, there'll be like 4 or 5 of them out there taking pictures of the kids on blankets and set up. And it's not mom and dad out there taking pictures, it's professional photographers out there doing it. And the boardwalk looks terrible. Can we just like pull that thing up?
Gasoline in the match.
I know it's kind of wet, I don't think it's burned, it just kind of probably make a lot of smoke. Anyway, so that's my 2 cents on that thing there. But other than that, the park looks really good. And after that big wind we had, there were a lot of branches and limbs down, and I cleaned up right away.
Thank you. I'll pass that on.
Yeah, I was walking with the dog, it's like, look at this. And then the next day when we walked, it was all gone.
Bernard?
Woodlands Park is doing great. Of course, the soccer spasm. The trails in the Western Bay are all good. Kudos to the park and recreation guys. I mean, from last year to the cleanup in the storm to this year from preparing everything, resawing everything, and then cutting the grass, now preparing for December 7th, the Winterfest. We're going to make sure we be awesome because all the lights all the way around the city looks really, really, really nice. I am proud to be living here in the city of Jacksonville.
Awesome, thank you. I'll pass that on also.
Okay, Ken's not here, Joe.
All right, well, covered most of it already, but just LP Willingham and the Riverwalk, it's always great. People are always still using the areas. Everything's still working fine there. Just again, kudos to your staff. I mean, whenever I see something, I send a quick text to you to say, hey, I see this is, I think the last one was a water fountain that was backed up in an hour. It was done and fixed. So again, we have no issues coming with the other area. So that's all I got. Winterfest, December 7th.
December, right?
December.
Sorry,
6th
man,
through
that's
6th through the 8th. We're gonna make sure you get the artisan part.
Okay, Brook Valley, I went by there Saturday and Sunday, and the good weather, had all kinds of people out there, the parks were in good shape. Just a couple of notes, the water fountain is still working, and I don't know if you're gonna cut that off later when it gets cold to prevent freeze up or
We
not.
actually shouldn't have to, they should be insulated.
Problem though is the drain, the water goes in, there's a drain right there, the drain must be clogged up because it's full of water. And I can't see an issue with that. If we get some real cold weather, that could freeze and crack
We can
something.
look at that, thank you for telling me that.
And then it's not our property, but the entrance off of State Drive into the park, the house on the right has been abandoned for quite a while.
Yes.
Remember, we had problems with that fence a couple of years ago? The fence, sections of it are coming down again. And again, it's not ours, but it's kind of an eyesore for people.
It's right on the park.
Yeah.
Send me a note on that and get code enforcement to look at.
And stopped by the rec center there, Northwoods, and everything's good. The heat is going, and that was the staff's major concern, is that the heater's working with the cooler weather we're getting. And that's in the reports. One city moment. Are we doing one tonight?
We are.
We are.
Okay.
So our one city moment is the holiday parade. And I don't know if any of you had an opportunity to attend the parade or had an opportunity to see it on whether it was G10 or any of the local channels. At least 4 departments participated in the parade this year. The recreation department, our department, Parks, as you can see the kazoo players from Parks, which was awesome. We had community development was part of this, enhancement, as well as the transportation people were a part of this. So the youth council. So this was truly an event for everybody, as you can see from the crowd there. So just a wonderful one city moment as you see the trains trailing the Gators back there. And look, in case you missed it,
December 6th through the 8th.
December 6th through the 8th.
They will not be
Two
able to sleep
locations,
without
yes.
thinking of this.
Please, love to see you on that Saturday, minimally, if not on Friday and Sunday in addition to. And tell all your friends.
Any alibis from anybody? I've got one. Susan, new recreation bus. Did we get that this month yet, or is it still?
It's in.
It's in.
It's getting all of its bells and whistles, tags and all that good stuff, so.
Okay, let me know when it's ready. I like to go and drive.
We're
before I go on
very
a mission.
excited.
Okay.
Me and Joe did check it out last week and it is getting all of its
Good
pretty
on that.
stuff and bells and whistles, so we're very, very excited. We should have it honestly, well, I guess maybe not
Will you
this
have it
week.
in time for December 7th?
Make no mistake.
Okay.
It will be ready next week. We should
Good.
have it next week.
Okay, super.
Very excited.
Before I get a motion to adjourn, one correction, that's 2020, not 2019 for our next meeting.
Oh.
Okay, with that correction, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Okay, all
Happy
those in favor?
Thanksgiving to all of y'all.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. No opposed?